RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests or advertisers. The information contained in this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice, and an appearance on this show is not to be considered an endorsement. As always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Comfy Sunday. That's the wrong theme song. Oh, I hope everyone is having a lovely day. We are so pleased tonight to welcome back to the show LT from And We Know. You guys know him. He needs no introduction. Great guy, incredible talent, and a real asset to this movement. As always, Methods is here as well. And I see patriots from all across the globe. Please, guys, do me a favor. Consider liking and sharing this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. Sure would mean a lot. The world is on fire right now. And for the time being, I'm hoping that we can have a nice, comfy conversation. All right, gang. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. The CV-19 crisis is causing aftershocks all throughout the world economy. Everything is at risk now, especially the food supply. Yes, the government can print bailout money, but they can't print food. Food takes time and the production follows a tight schedule. But CV-19 interfered with that schedule. And now there are gaps in the supply chain that will soon show up as food shortages at your local grocery store. Are you prepared? What if you can't buy any food for a couple of weeks? Well, don't panic. Just go to preparewithredpill78.com right now, and you can save $100 off a 4-week food supply of delicious, nutritious food from My Patriot Supply. They're the top-rated company I personally use and trust for my emergency food. You'll breathe easy when you receive your 4-week kit. It gives you enough meals to get you through the coming food shortage nightmare, and the food tastes like home cooking too. So don't delay. Go to preparewithredpill78.com right now. Get your order today. Tomorrow might be too late. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel.
Man, I'm doing good. I'm excited about this one tonight, and I see in the chat everyone's pretty excited too. What's up, chat? How are you guys doing tonight?
Somehow I was muted. Sorry about that. Welcome back once again, everyone.
Wrong music, muted microphones. Let's do it, man.
Well, okay, I got it out of the way. No more muting for the rest of the night. Please join me in introducing our guest for this evening, LT from And We Know. LT, how are you, buddy?
Hey, doing fine. A little bit tired, but great to be here.
Well, LT, I have to say thank you so much for doing this. I know that you are an incredibly busy guy. You have a lot going on in real life as well as with your gig on YouTube. So it means a lot that you would take that time out of your day to come and spend it with us. So thanks again.
Yeah. Love your show. Love being here. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well, listen, if everybody could help out and make sure that you give us some information on the concurrent viewers and the likes. This platform is still not giving me updated information. I'm showing 1,870 people here with 937 likes. Please let us know how many people are here. I would appreciate it. Now, I saw a lot of people in the chat before we started. This is funny because I didn't think it would be confusing at all. But LT is And We Know, and then Sir Patrick Mack is In Pursuit of Truth. Both extremely incredible channels in their own regard. But LT, please, if there's, just in case there's anybody here who doesn't know you, give us a little introduction to who you are.
Great. Last time we went through this, I think it was last year. Remember last year,
Yeah.
May, I believe, and we had a lot going on. Most of folks know that I was in the Marine Corps for more than 20 years. During that Marine Corps career, it was interesting, and we talked about it last year, how I never had the same job for more than 3 years for that entire 20-year process. And I grew up in a small town in Albany, Georgia. Not much to do there, not much to see there other than the bugs. Couldn't wait to get out, go to boot camp, and change my life there. Once I joined the Marine Corps, I went into this thing called Air Support Operations Operator. The recruiter told me it would be a wonderful job, and when I got to school in 29 Palms, California, which I thought would be the beach, I found out there was a lot of beach out there in 29 Palms because we didn't have the internet to research and find out what it actually looked like. So I figured everything in California was beautiful until I got to 29 Palms. Once I got there, they gave us a small radio and told us, here's a piece of paper, fill it out, listen to the other guy on the other end, and then hand it to the officer. And that job was not what they said it was. But it had a fancy name. So about 3 years later, they had an opportunity to stay in the Marine Corps, and the guy told me, you can be a brig guard or you can go into something called public affairs. And I had no idea what public affairs was. He said, you're going to write for newspaper articles, this, that, and the other, take pictures. I said, that sounds a lot better than brig guard. I'll take it. And did the interview and changed my life. And that particular step in my life was what got me to where I am today, where I'm 50 years old now. And I look back on all of those changes throughout life. And that's one of the things that I bring up a lot. And that's why I like that verse that I use for, and we know it's Romans 8:28. And we know all things work together for good to those who love the Lord, to those that are called according to his purpose. So I definitely had a love for the Lord, brought up my whole life under my mother and father, who had taught me well to submit to him and have a fear of God and a healthy fear of him, and fell in love with the youth group, grew up in that, joined the Marine Corps, and changes started happening. And that journey is probably important for folks to know. When I joined public affairs, they sent me back to Parris Island to write for a newspaper company called The Boot Newspaper. And so I wrote about recruits again. I was around drill instructors again for a couple of years. And they then moved me to marketing in New Jersey and Philadelphia and New York City. Now, when you grew up in Georgia, there's one place that you have a fear of, and I'm sorry for those that live in that area, but we didn't know because we didn't have the internet. And so I thought if we went up to the Northeast, the books that I had read, because I read a lot of books, were about gangs and trouble in New York City. And so I had a fear of this giant city. And I'll tell you that it's a great story. I won't go over the details, but when we got into New Jersey 3 years later, we did not want to leave. And fell in love with it. We fell in love with visiting the city. My favorite thing about that journey was going to a Philadelphia baseball game with my Atlanta Braves outfit on. And,
How'd that go?
I'm sure that went really well.
Oh, it was wonderful. We learned a lot of new cuss words, and so we had a good time there. And then at that point in New Jersey, the Marine Corps is very small. At the time, I think it was 175,000 Marines. Out of that, we had a very small group in our job specialty of public affairs. I believe it was 150 at the time. And I was asked, I tried to get my orders. In the Marine Corps, you move every 3 years, and they tell you where to go. You don't really get to pick where you want to go. They call it a dream sheet for a reason, because it's normally a dream. And I asked to go to Okinawa, Japan, and because I fell in love with Okinawa when I was there as the air support operations operator. And he said, look, the closest I can get you is Iwakuni. I said, doing what? And he said, do you have broadcast experience? And I said, well, I visit TV stations all the time trying to sell free ads for the Marine Corps. I've been doing that for 3 years in marketing. He goes, well, that's good enough. And I said, well, what am I going to do? And he said, you're going to run an Armed Forces Network detachment in Iwakuni. You're going to be the production supervisor. And I said, well, okay, there's another new one. Thanks a lot, God. And next thing you know, I go to the broadcast managers course in Maryland, DINFO's Maryland Defense Information School. And when I walk in, the senior master chief looked at me and asked me what detachment I was from. And I said, I've never been to one. And he looked around the entire room filled with all these broadcasters, a different breed in the military. And he said, look what the Marines do. They always send these inexperienced folks here in front of them all. I'll never forget that. It hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. There's a lot that happened there. At the very end of that 3-week course, I was asked to stand in front of the colonel for the final presentation. I was not liked by the senior master chief at all. That colonel, who was in the Air Force, there's a mix of different folks at DINFO's, and he had me stand up. I had to brief the detachment on how broadcasting works, what my detachment is capable of doing. I had no idea what I was talking about. I tried. I had a PowerPoint presentation up, and he stopped me about 2 minutes in, and he said, you can stop right there. At the time I was a staff sergeant. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, do you know what you're talking about? And I said, oh, no, this is it. I'm not going to be able to go to Iwakuni. My life's finished. This is what I think in the back of my mind. And I said, sir, to be honest, I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I promise you, when I get to Iwakuni, that I will give you everything that I've got, and I will not let you down. That's the story of my life. I will give you. And he goes like this. I'll never forget. He says, I know you are, because the way that you've got that PowerPoint presentation moving, I need you to show me how you do that. And at the time, and it was in 1995 or 1996, PowerPoint was still relatively new. What I did was to try to, I always felt there's got to be a way to reach this guy, because I knew I wasn't going to pass with knowledge. And I learned how to make PowerPoint come to life. I learned how to make things fly in, make pie charts, significantly different than what they had seen. And so he was in awe that I could bring this PowerPoint presentation to life, and that's what got me through. And that's been the story of my life. I mean, look at my channel. That's what I try to do with the intros. I try to make it different every time. I spend more time working on those introductions to the videos than I actually do in the research and the putting together of the actual news itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, LT, to that point, you could definitely agree that God was setting you up for this moment in time, and whatever happens in the future with you. I mean, you were doing something that was leading you in a direction. You didn't know what to do with it necessarily, but you wanted to learn. You had the drive, and you had no idea. Especially, we didn't know that these times would be happening now. You were being molded to be who LT is today. And I can speak for the chat, and I'll just say this: when we announce shows, I can kind of get a feel on how people feel about the guests that we have, and people were excited to have you come on the show tonight. And in turn, anytime I see people who list out their favorite YouTube channels, or people are just sharing conversations about that, your name comes up more and more all the time. Mm-hmm. And I just want to let you know that you are, very important to this movement. And a lot of people do look up to you for it, because they can tell even from how you just explained that, you're genuine, and that's worth its weight in gold in this movement entirely.
Yeah. Thanks
Absolutely.
for the pressure.
I mean, I was just going to say, that is specifically the reason that I think, I was drawn to you and wanted to make sure that we got a chance to meet, because I highly respected you as an individual, not only because of your talents, but because I could tell, who you were as a person. You were ethical. You had faith, which is extremely incredible, something that we need in this world. Too many people take a look at all of this horrific stuff that's taking place, and they just give up. They want to go ahead and just slump down onto the couch and just say, throw your hands in the air. There's nothing I can do about it. But that can-do attitude and that specific singular faith in one thing, knowing that no matter what happens, everything's going to work out, and you just got to play your part in it. I respect that, and I love you for it. And as far as your talents with the videos are concerned, I wish I could do the things that you do, man. Because I don't know anything about editing. I'll just admit that. Everything that I do, I taught myself, and it didn't take me that long. And I haven't had a ton of time to, get in and dive in any deeper. I'm great with computers, but I have to learn how to use the program. But if I was spending as much time as you were with making those introductions, I don't know that I would be sleeping at all. I know how many hours it takes to do that stuff. It's an incredible thing. Yeah.
Well, did you want to do the super? I don't know if you want.
Oh yeah,
a lot of folks given to you. Wow.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
That's amazing.
Shauna Reynolds and Terry Escalante. Oi, thank you both for joining as a member. And just in the interest of brevity, guys, just assume thank you to everybody who has donated. No. Kathleen Bikert says, love you, and we know. Jill Forthman, thank you for that. Berserker Bear, Buffalo Dustin, Red Pill Methods, and we know. Boom. Let's see. Daniel Turgeon, Vancouver, BC, Canada, where we go one, we go all. Mike Q, God bless us all, where we go one, we go all, worldwide, sending everyone love and light. Floricio, every riot is happening in Democrat-run cities and budget problems, and they've all declared a national emergency. Pallets of bricks being placed by businesses to destroy them. They don't want us open, government-controlled. LT, why don't you read Serial Brain 2 drops anymore? We'll get an answer on that in just a sec. Phoenix Rising 8, hey Jude, she says, I'm a Jersey Shore girl and a Mets fanatic. Boo Braves. Will I Make It says, trust the plan, God's plan, pray for God's will. Legacy Anon and Elizabeth Miller, thank you both for joining as members. Rook Castle says, how fitting LT on Pentecost Day, Q bumps. Catherine Thompson also joined as a member. Gary Dyke says, longtime follower of Red Pill, and we know, and in pursuit of truth. This is truly a treat. My mother is here with me and my fiance, and we are all watching. Hello, Mom. Hello, fiance. Glad you guys are all here. Floricio also says, LT, can you please make me a t-shirt with Palm Luke 8:17? It's my favorite. You make the best visual videos. And Patricia Furlong says, hi, LT, what happened with Serial Brain 2? And Dawn has broken, also joining as a member. Thank you all for your generosity. I appreciate it. Well, LT, this is definitely something I wanted to ask. You've made, a seamless transition going from being the guy who made Serial Brain 2 videos to being a guy who covers Q, who also covers news, and you've done it extremely well. Some people, I would imagine, would be pretty scared to change up the formula. It was working really well. Yeah. So, please, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've shared it to several folks, especially on those that support on the patron side. They've got a great message put together on that. It was a very difficult process, and I came to you and asked your opinion, and I've always felt like in the midst of many counselors, there's wisdom that's coming from the Bible, and I didn't want to make that decision to move away without many counselors guiding me and helping me in a lot of ways. I'm also friends with Mark Taylor. I like to be with the Mac Files every now and then, and we've talked. And one of the things that helped make that transition for me, the number one reason, probably out of all, and we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but I didn't bring this up, was the fact that I wasn't getting anything handed to me from his writings for a long time. I had already thought about making that transition because he had brought up some subject matter that I was very uncomfortable with, being brought up in the Christian faith. One of the decodes that he had shared had a quote somewhat to the effect of that the the Muslims worship the same God as the Christians. And it didn't sit well with me. It was very difficult for me to understand. I tried to be really careful and not be very judgmental, but that particular one I couldn't read, and there was no, there was no change whatsoever other than I continued to produce after that. But in what most Christians call the Holy Spirit, there was conviction in me that maybe things were going to change a little bit. And after that, I didn't receive a decode for a long time, 3 weeks, I believe. And so I put another one out, and then another 3 weeks to a month went by, didn't receive anything. And there was an angst in me. There was a lot going on at the time. I felt like folks needed to know what was going on. I was reading the cue board. I was watching all of this information come through, and I felt like I need to produce, but I'm not getting a decode. So what am I going to do? And a lot of prayer, talked to a lot of folks, and I definitely felt like if I go back to the original format, which was read the cue drops, try to decipher what's going on, produce information, get it out, how is this going to all come together? And I finally made the decision, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and move on because he's not putting information out for me to go. Well, the response was the opposite of what I thought. I thought that the response was going to be negative, subscribers would leave and the channel would go away. Instead, all of the folks came in with unbelievable support. Subscribers started going up, messages changed. Folks were telling me, thank you for producing on your own. We want to hear your voice. Please don't worry about producing for somebody else. My wife reads a lot of the comments below on YouTube. I don't have a lot of time to do that because I run another business, and it's you're right, it's very little sleep. I've got 3 kids that still live at home. In the teenager realm, I've got a 25-year-old and another 26-year-old that were in the Marine Corps and Army. Even though they leave the home, folks, if they're not married, we still take care of them. And so
right.
There's a lot of calls come in for support on that, and it's our lives are being pulled in so many different directions. That one was a big one for me, and definitely scared. And here we are. I mean, it's changed to the positive side. I don't want to knock Serial Brain 2 down at all on any issues, but the truth is that I did have an issue with that one particular code. I didn't like it, and it was difficult. It's difficult to share because it's the first time in a public forum that I'm actually sharing that particular aspect with the public on the beginning of me wondering how to move forward with producing for somebody else, if that makes sense.
I mean, it definitely makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know that I would have the same level of enjoyment if it was producing, just something that somebody else was making for me to do. I mean, part of the joy in making the videos is finding the way that you want to sew everything together and kind of, draw that thread through. So, right. I mean, congrats. I mean, you've done a great job. I believe that the quality of your videos has increased tenfold since you started doing it this way. And it seems like your heart is in it more. I can imagine having to wake up and dreading, what is it that's going to be in here that maybe is going to give me pause and make you want to take a step back. So it's been a great job for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about the past of, we were going through the history of my life. When we got to AFN and I started working there, you were talking about having time to put things together or learn programs. One of the things in my life that I've been, it's just a strange part of my personality. Anytime I find something that I like, I want to learn how to do it 100% and go and take it to the umpteenth level, right? Well, when I got into public affairs, we had these things called Macs, those little tiny 5-inch tiny Mac. I forgot what they're called, but you remember back in the 90s, those little tiny things?
The LC2, or was it the first iMac?
No. It was the little tiny LC2.
Yeah.
And I was new to that whole platform. And when we moved in, we had a contractor that supplied that to the Marine Corps because, Marines, we don't have anything. They don't really give you any money. So the Marines have to, take your pack and move with whatever you got there, Marine. And so they had a program on there to do graphic type stuff. And I loved this particular program to make graphics for the newspaper. And I created these different graphics every week and ended up winning awards producing that type of thing. When I went to Iwakuni, Japan, I said, hey, I don't want to just be here and produce, the 10-minute newscast every day. I want to take it to the umpteenth level, whatever. So what I did was when I got there, I told all of we had a soldier, Marine, sailor, said, look, I don't want to be a staff sergeant for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be a private. And that's the only way I'm going to learn this job. And boy, they had the greatest time telling the staff sergeant what to do. And I was in the trenches, had to really learn how to pick up a camera and shoot these newscasts to a 2-minute, news piece, whatever. And after that 2 weeks, I said, okay, I'm back, and you guys are going to listen to me. We're going to put this thing together. Well, a year went by. We had 2 other Marines and we had about an 18-month combination of experience in broadcasting. We put together a 10-minute newscast and submitted it for awards to this thing called Thomas Jefferson Award Program. We won number 1 in the Marine Corps. It went to the Department of Defense level. Now, Thomas Jefferson Awards are the biggest that you can get in public affairs. It's a big deal. We thought, whatever, nobody's ever going to look at our stuff, but that was great to win the Marine side. Cool. And about a month later, my master sergeant came into my church on a Sunday morning, sat next to me because he couldn't wait to tell me that we had won the entire Department of Defense Thomas Jefferson Award for broadcasting with 3 people.
Wow.
And I wanted to call that senior master chief from the school and let him know, hey, remember me? So bad I wanted to call him, but my wife wouldn't let me. So
it's a good idea.
She's
probably.
protected me in a lot of ways, boy. Anyway, the interesting thing with that was that, in that experience level of trying to understand how to work with these programs, and then I shared with those that interviewed me for the magazine when it came out. You get these interviews done. Was I don't ever feel like we're at a level of winning. It seems like I'm always trying to depend on. That's where I always say I depend on my Savior for everything that goes on. Now, you hear folks that in the sports realm, they'll say, after they win, I'd just like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for everything, and being here today. And I hear that all the time. But for me, that was the whole journey. You're sent to do something you don't know how to do. You're then at that moment putting out information, and all of a sudden you look back and you realize, how did I get here? It is absolutely amazing. One of the staple folds for us, like when I see Methods, I'm so glad that we're finally talking, and he's put out on the cue board. I mean, I get chills seeing it, and when somebody you are kind of associated with indirectly, oh, he's on Red Pill and he's been cued again, that's an exciting thing. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, made the keyboard, whatever. I tell you, for us, I don't know if you remember, but I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, the cue board had a guy that produced a video, and we happened to be in that video. You were there, and there's my logo. Man, my wife and kids were all doing the happy dance. We're like, yeah. Oh, it's like we had won an award, through all that work. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I got that out.
No, sorry to cut you off, real quick. Just on all that point with all that, and first off, I do agree with you, LT. Seeing videos like that being made, it's definitely an honor, and I get to be put side by side with other people that I look up to. So it's really, really cool. But on that serial brain thing going on, I guess I'll address this as well, because I had that sent to me a lot in the beginning. What do you think about this decode, that decode in the beginning? So any OG people that followed me a couple years ago, I didn't really pay attention to it or even really respond. I checked it out. It just didn't resonate with me. And I'm not like you. I'm not trying to shoot down serial brain. Do what you do, man. But as far as these decodes and stuff he was doing, it just wasn't my bag. I wanted to do my own thing. It just didn't really click. And if it did for others, great. I had a lot of people tell me it was helping them understand things. I don't know what they were understanding, but that's cool. But one thing that made me really appreciate your work, even though you were working on something that I wasn't into, was how you handled the videos, and obviously how visually great they were. So I could still appreciate. So I would watch the videos at times when they would come across my feed or something, but not really like pay attention as much to the decode, more so how visually great it was. So to me, I will just speak for myself on this, and I am very excited that you have transitioned over to doing your own types of videos.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, my mom, big supporter, right? In Red Pill 78, we talk about our moms too, and last year a lot when she called in. It was so wonderful to hear her voice. They're big supporters for us, and it was good to hear from her and Jerry, her husband, that they were thankful to move on, because they then admitted, it's hard to understand all the things that you're talking about in those decodes. Some of them were pretty heavy. What I definitely got from Serial Brain 2 is he has a sense of knowledge in historical things that seem to tie together what's happening in America. And I would sometimes have to read over them 2 or 3 times to just grasp some of that. But I did appreciate the depth of knowledge that he had in historical sense,
Oh, yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, clearly the man, woman, whoever he is, has, a vast array of knowledge, very intelligent, and I think that everybody has their unique part to play in what it is that we're doing. And I think you've really come into your own as far as what that is for you. Let me just say a couple more quick thank yous. Lionheart says, God Save America, 53120. Amy America says, Semper Fi LT from Sergeant Major and I. Brutus DM says, is there a military channel? Is there one in planning? I thought I stumbled across it a month ago. Old content, but timeless and grounded. Do you mean as in like an official U.S. military channel on YouTube? I mean, I know that the various branches of the military have their own official accounts on Twitter, I would imagine Facebook, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was some here on YouTube. Either of you guys, have you run across any official U.S. Government branch YouTube channels?
I haven't seen anything.
Okay. Yeah, not personally, but I will be sent like great videos here or there, and I mean to subscribe, and I end up not doing it. So,
let's see. John Miller says, all 3 of you are great patriots. Thank you very much. Inmets has joined as a member. Bob Ayala says, there are 2 channels that I listen to religiously, Red Pill 78 and We Know. You guys kill it. Thank you, LT, for all you do. Appreciate that. Our Dr. D says, report every Antifa account and demand that Jack and Yoel Roth take them down, or do they support terror orgs? I think that the idea of that is definitely well-meaning, Ardoc, but I would say that every single account that exists on Twitter that has a leaning towards that direction is probably already on the radar of our government. We can talk about that more in just a moment, guys. Marshall Cerise, thank you for joining as a member. Documentary Magic has said, RP, did you get my email? It's important. It has YouTube in the subject line. Hugs, Connie. Connie, I will take a look right after we get off the air. Tammy Eaton says, our favorite Anon says to think for ourselves, so good job, LT. Inmets says, Copenhagen calling, where we go one, we go all. Rook Castle says, Antifa designated as a terror organization. A great day for patriots. I think we've all been waiting for that to take place. Paul Marshall says, Ravi Zachariah. Douglas McCarthy says, LT, oorah, big fan. Always looking forward to your posts. I was in 29 stumps, 92 to 94. Just want to let you know that I enjoy your work. And Sean T says, I left And We Know back when decodes were going sideways. Just too much of a stretch. Info coming out of the fog. So glad you dropped it, LT. So, Sean, I hope you'll get back into LT's channel. Rosario Lugo says, I love all you guys equally. Recon Marine says, Semper Fi, brother. Love your show. Never miss it. We chewed on some of the same dirt. The Rock, 3rd MEF. Wildcat 69.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that means, so you have to explain it.
That means Okinawa.
Oh, okay. Wildcat 69, love your work, LT. Keep up the great work, Digital Soldier. You rock, Semper Fi. Patricia 64 says, I told myself no more super chats after I became a member, but with LT on the show, I must show my appreciation. I never miss And We Know or RP. Very grateful. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate the support. The Brooklyn Way, thank you. And Lionheart says, the real news, Red Pill 78, X22 Report, And We Know, Praying Medic, SGT Report, The Patriot Hour, Golden State Times, and God Bless America. Awesome. Good stuff. So, yeah, obviously, with President Trump making that announcement that that particular organization is now going to be deemed a terror organization, I think that we are going to see some major changes taking place here in America. I think that this is something we can all agree on. These protests, these riots that they're turning into, they have the aroma of organization around them. We've got pallets of bricks being left on street corners. You've got people who are there to just protest peacefully, and then all of a sudden the black bloc comes in. They start spray painting. They start destroying buildings. They set things on fire. There have been a couple of people from Michigan today that sent me pictures from Grand Rapids, and then I guess in Lansing it's about to get started off too. LT, are you seeing anything like that in Japan? I mean, that's not something that's going to happen there.
No, I'm not. No,
Okay.
Everything's very relaxed. Yeah.
All right, and then methods in your area. Are you seeing anything like that?
I'm not that close to where my major city is at, but I am definitely seeing a lot of the stuff that you guys are seeing happening.
Okay. Well, I guess I'd like to get your opinion, and LT, we can start with you. Now that President Trump has, stated that this organization is now on the list of terror organizations, what do you think is going to be the first thing that takes place?
Oh, that's a great question. I wish that I had the in-depth knowledge that the intel folks have, what I used to have in a sense when I was in the Marine Corps. I don't. One of the things that I can't appreciate about this president is he's actually taking action in ways that we've always wanted, and we've always screamed at my television many times over the years, like, why won't this president do anything? This is in the past, not this current president. This president steps in and he starts keeping all of the promises that he made to the public. And so this is just another one of those things that folks are longing for. Finally declare what we were waiting for. Please do it. And that's a big deal. On a small one, just for me, was the HCQ treatment. When the day before he made the announcement he was taking those pills, this was big for me, was I just looked at my family at the dinner table. I said, I wish that the president would just take those pills and say that he's taking them. But shut the media up. Because we know the agenda. We've put out these videos. We're sharing the news of what happened to that family that was producing the HCQ for their company.
Oh, yeah.
We know that there's been an agenda to hide this because they don't want folks being healed, because it's all about the election. And the fact that he removed us from the WHO. We didn't know. I didn't know that WHO had a symbolism of that god of Shiva thing sitting on their thing. For me, on a biblical perspective, to have that as their staple on the table when they're having their meetings bothers me. Why are we sending their money if that's what they hold on to? And so that was a big deal for me personally when he removed all the said we're not going to give them money anymore. Another thing that he did. Thank you. And so what do we hear all the time on my end from family members, from folks that I'm close to, is nothing's happening. You hear that all the time. You've heard folks for the past month and a half are changing their tune, doubting the president's decisions again when things get heated up. Very difficult thing when you hear those, and after looking back, thinking through things over and over again, a lot of prayer, and you say, I keep hearing in my mind this gigantic ship. The president's just one man. He's got to have everything in place. And when he entered, we talk about the swamp is big. It's not just in D.C. It's throughout the entire nation. And one of the great things that's been exposed in the past few months is how sick the Democrat leaders are across the country. We finally get to see who these governors really are, who these mayors really are. Wow, what a great play. Let them take over. You guys have to depend on your local leadership because that's who you voted for. And did those votes even count? I don't think they did. I've even said this, and I've made this statement with my family, and I know I kind of sideballed the question that you asked me, but I just want to keep going with my thoughts here. The other thing that really captivates me on this whole thing is, and I could be wrong, but I'll just throw this out. Could we end up waking up from a vote voting system that's been completely revamped. And then all of a sudden we realize these folks that have been in power for 30, 40 years, you wake up one day and all of a sudden the voting system actually was real and the votes did count. And then you realize, oh my goodness, almost every single person is voting for those that support life, the right to life, that support conservative values across our country, a love for our country. Could that actually happen? Is that why they're freaking out? Because the reality and the truth of who they really are is going to be exposed. The voting system's being fixed. And here's the other thing I want to add, and I said this in one of my videos. Isn't it interesting that they're asking for folks to do mail-in ballots? And I say that for this reason. What were the voting systems set up for when President Trump was running for office? They were on voting machines. What was going on with those machines? They were rigged.
Owned by Soros.
Okay, yeah. So all of a sudden, how come they're not saying, well, we need to get to those machines. We need to make sure we line up, every 6 feet, and make sure we get in there and put our votes in because those machines are rigged for our vote. It seems, in my opinion, they're not running to that anymore. What does that mean? In my opinion, that they finally cleaned those machines up. They can't use them anymore. And so where's the evidence of that? Well, what did we share in a couple weeks ago or a week ago? What's going on in California? A couple of these folks that were Democrat run are now Republican run. And folks are, even Mark Taylor said, hey, I believe that California is red. And so there seems to be this dynamic of they've got to stop this influx of all this greatness that's happening with this president, and it's all gearing towards the election. And that's why even more the Q board was talking about USA versus Japan. Japan only had 851 deaths. We have 100,000. Well, why are they manipulating the numbers? We know they're manipulating because it's all about the election. They want everybody to stay home, do the mail-in ballots and whatever. So I pivot everything to say I don't know what's going to happen with the Antifa thing. What we do know is after the fact, after we see what's been put into play, we look back and say, again, the president and the leadership surrounding him, brilliant, once again.
I agree with you 100%. This is one of the things that I hear shills screaming all the time. Why isn't President Trump doing something, or why aren't we seeing him do what, I want him to do? I believe that what we've been looking at for the last couple of years is just the outside view of everything taking place behind the scenes. I think this has been a 4-year sting operation. President Trump's administration couldn't begin their own investigations until he came into office. And then once he came into office, they needed to get the evidence on all of these people for all of these various crimes, and specifically taking it back to Antifa. I think that they've been infiltrated by FBI agents and people who are giving information on what their movements are so that they understand who is in their ranks, what they plan on doing, where they're located. And they have allowed them to go ahead and commit these crimes so that they can be branded this a terror org, and then they can go ahead and go after them. Same reason that I think with the voting in the midterms in 2018, they were allowed to go ahead and try to cheat so that they can have the goods on them in that way. And I think that if you look at everything that's happened, this is what's been taking place the whole time. They've been going after them silently. They've been building their cases. Clearly, we know that there's almost 170,000 sealed indictments at this point. Those are going to lead somewhere. And I think we're going to be in for a spectacular year this year, before the election and then also after the election.
Well, that's right. Just to the points that you guys are making, which was great, because when we talk about things, we have to go in all these different directions to get to the point, because it's all connected. And what we've been seeing here is, okay, fine. If we just want to accept the fact that a cop did something to someone and this person was killed and people are actually protesting peacefully for the justice, let's not necessarily say that it was all a ruse to get people worked up, which I kind of tend to believe that this was a setup from the jump. Having this happen, you have to think about how this now puts this entire protest and all this chaos and all these fires, it puts it on screens and everybody's phones and in everybody's houses. It then becomes everywhere. So I think about the display of this. Why is this being orchestrated as such? And it goes to both of you guys' point. Like, they have to point out, make these things look like this is Trump's America. And that whoever they put up there, even though it's Biden right now, which we don't even think that he can make it that far, they're going to have to give an answer to to a problem. They need to be the solution, but they're creating the problem. And to this whole point about Antifa with all that, there's a key point that a lot of people put out, so I'm not going to take credit for it, is that Trump in his tweet specifically, he didn't use the word domestic when it came to labeling them as what they are now, or I guess it'll be written in. So you have to consider that option of there's a road going down to where we've seen Antifa in videos on, because this movement sees everything across the world. I just did a quick research and everything, and there's music videos that are in Greek. There's music videos that are down in south of the border that's highlighting Antifa. You're having all these things. So I challenge everybody here. I know we're having a conversation, but if you guys want to have something to dig into, see where you can find Antifa. See where you can see where all these things are occurring, where they've created this culture around this word Antifa, and you'll be quite surprised at how big it is. Because what happened today when this stuff came out, Red Pill, they tried to take it down to, oh, they're not that big of a group. That's correct. You can't call them an organization when they're that small. Well, just do a search across different countries and you'll see these things pop up. And I think without the word domestic, that's going to get into the enemy combatants issue. That's going to get more into who's funding them, because one of the things that our favorite Anon was pointing out was the whole, the insurgents issue, and using the quotes from the documents. And one of the things was talking about, there's a specific line, and I think even our favorite Anon pointed out, was what are the origins of this group? And this is going to get into the financial things and all this. And then our favorite Anon also pointed out how they've been monitoring them for a while. So if we want to assume that they just popped up out of nowhere, they had to have planning during all this lockdown stuff, right? They had to get all these things organized. So you're going to have all these things already being monitored to see where it goes, a contact tracing, if you will, of what they've been doing. And that's going to blow up a lot, because imagine a world where it is explained on a public forum with a Barr, Durham type presser, even with Ray, because I think this is a great opportunity for Ray to put up and actually win people over to a degree, because there's a lot of people don't trust him. I've even wavered at times, and I've said it publicly. Imagine if the FBI just went ham on Antifa and took care of this mess. Wouldn't you at least try to believe them to a point? But having that world stage of explaining who they are, who's funding them, here's all the evidence, and take it further. And, oh, by the way, we're putting out an arrest warrant for Soros, or whatever the case. Kind of like what they did with what was it, Venezuela? Yeah,
Maduro. Yeah.
Right. If you were to do that same kind of thing, then we need that kind of explanation, because like I found an article from a year ago of a head Antifa that was was over the DC thing, had been arrested. I don't know if everybody remembers that. And he's tied to Democrat leadership. So you just have to consider all of it.
Well, and you can take it back even farther to one of President Trump's first executive orders, dealing with transnational criminal organizations. Obviously, there is a lot of money that is being used to fund that stuff, and George Soros was just brought up specifically. So that's a great point that you made, that he didn't say domestic organization, that it's just an organization. So I think that you're right. I think it's going to go global with all that information. Just need to say thank you to Justin Heck. He said, DC Antifa headed to the White House via Jack at OAN. Chef Jay's Reef says, so what's the plan? Defend our cities, or will the military handle it? I want to say that I think everybody should be prepared to defend themselves and their family and their property. But I do believe that the military is going to be, I mean, how many states are they in now, you guys? The National Guard has been called up in, I believe, something like 10 states. And
my number's up to 15 of what 15. I've seen.
Okay. Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was going to be a military presence. I think that it's very likely that it'll be necessary, but I think everyone should be prepared to protect themselves and their families and their property. Kelsey Davis, thanks for joining as a member. Lynn Owen says, I never miss an episode of RP78, M3, or And We Know. Love and appreciate you guys. Floyd Standifer the Fourth says, Semper Fi LT, still here RP, LOL, methods, awesome work as well. Much love to you all. Never miss anything any of you produce. Xander Witt, thank you for that. Denise says, and we know, I don't know what you gargle with, but you don't sound a day over 30. Love your shows. Mary Matson says, I never miss a broadcast from either Red Pill or And We Know. Keep up the great work. Our Dr. D says, Antifa tweeted out that they are going into residential areas next to take back what is theirs. If Jack doesn't remove, then Twitter is conspiring. And I think that they've been known to be conspiring for quite some time. Now, just one more point I wanted to make.
Real quick, just because Ardoc's brought that up twice. Yeah. Shout out to Ardoc. Glad you're here. But one of the accounts that's been specifically saying those things, I know that he was bringing up, do we report them and all that stuff? Well, there was mass reporting of it because they were calling for violence tonight and they were going to, quote, I think, like, make examples of people or whatever. Well, I was just shown before the show started, that account got suspended.
Okay.
So, yes, take the extra second when you see calls for violence, all that. Take the second to report. I know you're reporting it to, Twitter. I'm going to be nice with my words there. Still take that second, because if there's enough of it, apparently it is working.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Well, also to the point of the awareness surrounding this stuff. I mean, just recently, you said, sometimes you can't just tell people, you have to show them. We've been saying for a long time that these people should be branded with the designation that President Trump and the DOJ just gave them. But even amongst the people that are participating in these demonstrations, you've got, I saw a video today, an African-American girl found two members of this group all dressed in black. They had masks on, and they were spray painting the front of a business and saying that, Black Lives Matter. And this girl was saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? We're not here to destroy things. We're here to demonstrate. And they were like, oh, we're doing it for you, trying to, make it look like they're doing something good, but they were getting called out. And the same thing with those pallets of bricks. I mean, I doubt that's the first time that bricks have been placed at a demonstration like that. And people were calling it out. You also had people who, I wouldn't necessarily, think would do the reporting, but making reports at virtually every single demonstration that sedans or SUVs without license plates were driving around, handing out supplies, instruments of destruction, it said. And there's been reports of them being caught and stopped by the DOJ, people just running away from the vehicle and leaving it because it has no current registration or license plate. But all of this points to the fact that people are paying attention in a different way. They know that there is a difference between the people who want to destroy the businesses, the American businesses and homes of people living in these areas, and the people who want to demonstrate peacefully. I think that the people who want to demonstrate peacefully are 100%, they should be allowed to go ahead and do that. I mean, it's a terrible thing that happened with George Floyd. Regardless of how it began, regardless of who orchestrated what, the fact that we have a man who lost his life at the hands of someone who basically had a callous disregard for the harm that he was doing, people have a right to demonstrate. But they are not the same people as the ones who are destroying properties. You've got a lot of African-American people who lost businesses, who lost homes. And, to be frank, the neighborhoods that these people are destroying are not the neighborhoods of like the rich people. It's the neighborhoods and the businesses of the working class. So people are paying attention, and I think that's a big step back from where we were before. Baby Love 78 says, riot started here in San Antonio too. Funny how they all in many cities on the same night started peaceful and then turned violent overnight. No coincidences. And to that point, they're sending people in. They are making sure that they turn violent. But you know what else I've had people sending me from various cities throughout the United States? People in these neighborhoods, in these towns, coming together and all helping to clean up the devastation, take off the spray paint, pick up bottles and glass. So I thought that was a really good thing to watch those people coming together. Lady Dillanon says, you two please never quit. You are very loved and needed. Thank you very much. Xander Witt says, Chicago suburbs, Hawthorne Mall, Vernon Hills, boarding up ahead of tonight. Lena Smith says, Lena SSN, I just love you all. Keep on keeping on. Daddy Crab says, LT, I was in Okinawa, 80 to 81, truck company, Camp Hansen, grunts, Semper Fi. Snake Doc 067 says, LT, thank you very much for all the declassing the Q drops. Thank you also to RP and Methods. Love you all three for what you do to our country. Where we go one, we go all. Beulah Nix has joined as a member. Char Lara says, God told me that the enemy was going to ramp things up in the next few months, but with every punch from the enemy, God has a counterpunch. Fear not, we know who wins, God. Bruce Wayne says, daily listen to RP, iPod X22, now adding, and we know. That's a great lineup. Sarah Domine says, what a timely interview. You three are very calming in your delivery. We need this calm in the storm. 100% agree with LT that things come into light because of this darkness. And, excuse me, I lost my place. White Hat says, again, we have been watching, i.e. voting, etc. I believe y'all are correct. White Hat, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Thanks for hanging out. Q-Mom says, hey, LT, incredible video report today. I watched it twice. Hey, Methods and Red Pill, God bless and protect you all. Lisa Zuma, thank you for that. Elizabeth Coles, you're right. In California is red. This is the battleground. Vader's Force Ghost says, thank you all. LT, you've made me closer to God, and that's very special to me. Love you, RP and Methods. I don't know where we would be right now if I hadn't found you and the truth. Well, that's great. I'm glad that we helped you out there. Chris Hawkins says, half of our warrior brothers and sisters have taken a quick break to pow the thumbs up. Thank you very much, guys. That's a great time to ask. Please consider liking the stream if you haven't yet, and also consider sharing it on your favorite social media platform. James Rohrbach says, 45 played it perfectly. SS only and shutdown. Boom. Lynn Houston says, the voter fraud thing focuses on just a few precincts in the country. Doesn't need much to influence. Specific Orange County, California precincts were targets. We were devastated. Love LT. Hey Jude says, protest plan for tomorrow in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I had to talk my son out of attending. Thank God he listened. Baby Love 78. My friends in Charleston, South Carolina said there were bricks there too. Trisha Q Patriot, Texas. 3 of my favorite Anons. I never miss your shows. LT, could you bring back your former theme song for a week or two? No offense meant for the current one. It's just nostalgic purposes. Love your show so much. All right, and we'll let them build up again right there. So with everything that is going on, do you think that it was necessary for President Trump to allow these people to, make this visible impact and have people wake up so that they could feel that it's not something they want to go along with?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boy. That's a tough one again. Allowing. That's a big word. Mm-hmm. It almost reminds me of when I was interviewed on television, public affairs. We had a building, our general's building, burned down in Cherry Point, North Carolina, and she asked me, "Do you think that that you guys are worried about all the top secret type of information that was in that building that burned down with it?" And my answer was, the word "worried" is not in the Marine Corps vocabulary. We don't have it in our dictionary. We actually are going to be fine. So that kind of is about the same type of question. It seems interesting that our president would allow something to happen. I don't think that our president, although he has all this information given to him by the Department of Justice, one of the things that I've learned a lot just on the outside looking in, right, for the past 3 years, I really wasn't involved in a lot of the discourse on how everything works. I like even it makes me think of Methods, his name. How is this method working from the DOJ, the FBI, the NSA? How do they report to the president? How does the House work, the Senate work? To be honest with you, I enjoyed going fishing, doing my work, taking care of my family. I didn't really get involved or understand everything. My level of understanding was the Saturday morning cartoon that I grew up with telling me what a bill was on Saturday morning cartoons. Remember that song that they would sing?
I remember that. Yeah.
You go on to the footsteps of the bills, like this little piece of paper. And, that was my understanding. Just to be honest with you, I think a lot of us were kind of out of tune, right? Almost Q kind of alludes to that. We all fell asleep. Didn't really know much. They didn't tell us. They didn't teach us much. My basic understanding of learning was in the 70s and, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. I still remember our love for our country back in the 70s. It seemed to dissipate as we went into the 90s and then into where we are today, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm learning how his influence over things. It seems more and more he depends on those that he hires and puts into place to do their job.
Right.
Right. So what's their plan? How do they work everything? And I have to answer this question to my teenagers sometimes when they ask these type of questions. How come the president, if he knows everything, and I just kind of give them that answer of, if I had, this ability to look in and hear everything that's going on, and the amount of understanding that it takes to put together such a plan for all these years, they to me, every single thing that's going into play, including this, they've already known was coming. And there's a reason that they allow it to happen, if you want to use that word, or it comes into play to expose them. Then the exposure happens, then therefore declare them as terrorist organization. Okay, now one of the things we see in the Q board that I love is, when does the Marine Corps get called in? And I believe the military police was called in on the Marine Corps side to DC.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah. And so I even mentioned when the president, when Trump won the presidency, I remember telling my family, I wish I could go work for the president. I'd love to be able to work for him, but I can't at this level, and all the stuff that I got involved in for leaving the government service and starting this business and what have you. And now it seems like we are working for the president, right? He says we're digital warriors. He actually thanked us. And so it feels like we are all on the same team. We're all working together to put out information, and we're thanking God every day for what he's doing. And we know that this has to have a purpose. There has to have a purpose for all of this that's going down now.
Absolutely. And perhaps that was an oversimplification on my part. I mean, obviously, there's great compartmentalization in the various branches and the various agencies. So, I mean, Trump, he's aware of a good portion of things. Obviously, he's getting intelligence on a daily basis. But I guess maybe perhaps it would have been the FBI and the DOJ to some degree allowing for these people to commit crimes, because they can't arrest somebody prior to committing a crime. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, people have to plan and then go about the act of actually committing a crime before they can be arrested and indicted on that stuff.
Right.
So,
well, I remember the previous president. I don't even like to say his name.
Former occupant of the White House.
Yeah, I call him B.O. body odor.
There you go.
And so he mentioned, if they have an inclination that they're thinking or have a personality that's going to be criminal, let's go ahead and arrest them. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank goodness we don't have that.
Yeah, and just real quick, a couple different things, Red Pill. To that point of cut and dry questions that we get, like allowing, for example. I can probably speak for LT and Red Pill and a lot of people out here that are making content or trying to share information. We get asked those things all the time, right? Like why can this happen because of this, that, the other? And we want to handle the information the best we can, but not be the arbiters of this is the end all be all. Because we have so much happening, and we also try to take into consideration how many variables are there that we don't see. We're not supposed to know. What was the percentage, LT, of what's not public at this point that are favored?
Yeah, I believe it's 60%, I believe, right?
Yeah, so how could
40%? Yeah.
Right, and he even said something like operations are 80% private.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So as far as all this goes, that's where I feel bad even kind of leaving people hanging, because I'd like to give my opinion, but I agree with you. With anyone who asks these certain questions, why did they quote unquote allow this? Well, how can we explain that if we're not in their shoes? We don't have that clearance. We're not doing those jobs. They're there for that reason, and that's why we try to handle it and just give our opinions where we feel comfortable enough giving them, and if we have to retract certain things, we do the best we can. Another thing real quick, I had White Hat bring it up, and then our buddy Conscious Abe from 5x5 Media in the chat, shout out to those guys. I got sent a DM or a tweet, Red Pill, that says from OAN saying that they moved Trump to the underground White House bunker as the protests move closer and closer. So he's officially, from these reports, in the bunker right now.
Good.
So there's that. I will drop that tweet in the chat. And then also, because we are at that mid-time point, and I know people will ravage me if I don't say it, we have 6,200 people here hanging out with us, actually over that. Thank you guys for hanging out. Wow. That's pretty cool. And 3.6 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning the thumb blue if you haven't already. Let's see if we can hit 4,000 real quick. That'd be great. And also anybody that's donated to our PayPal accounts, we really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely I need to give a couple of thank yous from that. Let's see, Daniel M., thank you for that, buddy. Also to Trisha, appreciate that, Trisha. She said, I saw a video today where some rioters were asking a white guy over and over why he played a record. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, this must have been from yesterday. We did show that. That was another thing that just absolutely floored me, that a reporter would play the sound of some gunshots in the midst of all of this, this chaos. I mean, creating the chaos essentially, and then he got caught doing it. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that just would have slipped through the cracks before. People would have just been like, "Oh, we don't know what happened," but now everything is being exposed, and it's exactly what we need. Let's see here. Need to say thank you to Pamela Brunner. Thank you for that. Trisha said, 3 of my favorite Anons. I never miss your shows. Oh, that's the theme song. So how about that, LT? Are you going to bring back that theme song for Trisha for a couple episodes?
What's the song again? Go ahead and say it again.
She just says your former theme song.
I changed the music almost every time.
I thought that was it. I was like, which one is she talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I tell you, it's one thing you find the right templates, and then you have to dig into these After Effects and produce, and then the timing is very difficult. Mm-hmm. Then you have to go in and find the right song. If folks knew how difficult it is to find the right music to match the right mood, template, timing. Then you drop it into to your Premiere Pro, and the splash sound hits real big and it doesn't match your video. Well, now you've got to spend another hour trying to match everything, extend timeline. It is unbelievable what goes on. Wow. So it makes me want to come up with one theme song. And I've had a lot of folks tell me, why don't you just have one intro per month or per quarter so I don't spend so many hours producing every single. Now I'm trying to produce every 2 days. I could probably go every day if I only had one intro, And right. But there's another fear, right, of changing a format in the way I do things, and I do get excited creating something brand new every time for folks to enjoy.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it seems to be working right now. So, but I will tell you, there is a joy in having that one theme song that you don't have to worry about. Every time I just throw the clip in, and
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Tammy Eaton said, "Thank you so much for all you do and for your dedication." Elias A says, "It looks like the gay Kenyan is practicing his community organizing skills." Yeah, obviously, I think that there is something to do with the former occupant in the White House and everything that's taking place. Lionheart 2211 says, "Thank you, Red Pill Methods and LT, for all your hard work. LT, may God continue to bless you and your great work. In Jesus' name, amen." And cue the music says, "A Karen tries to stop looters yelling, 'Stop or Trump will get reelected.'"
I mean, there's a good argument for that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Nature's Magical Unseen World says, Nikola Tesla prophecies in his quotes. Nikola Tesla quote number 57. "You may live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. What's happening to the children? Adrenochrome, look it up. It's real." Yeah, this is one of those things that I think everybody is, maybe not eagerly anticipating the release of the truth about that, but something certainly people are anticipating in a way. Mark Dagley, thank you. Denise says, "I think Trump will help all those who lost their businesses to rebuild them, either through forcing the states to pay or through an impact bill." Yeah, that's a good thought. I mean, we've had, Bill Barr and then also President Trump hinting at the fact that the devastation itself, the response from the local and state authorities, I mean, that's on the states themselves. And basically every single location that we've had this kind of starting to pop off, I'm pretty certain that by and large, they're all Democratic controlled areas. Many of them probably were in debt to some degree already, but now in order to rebuild, they're most likely going to need to go to President Trump and kind of bend the knee if they want to get the help of the federal government. I mean, what do you guys think is going to be the result of that? LT?
Interesting thought. I like the picture comes to mind where you say they actually have to bend the knee to beg for support. That would be an interesting thing to see. I'd hope to see that public. These folks, it seems like it was well coordinated, and I've looked into even some of the folks that post on Twitter. Love some of their thoughts, and one of the things that really jumped out was if you're sitting at home for 2 months and you're not going to work, what do you have time to work on with these young folks? They're actually home. They're working on this operation to destroy our nation city by city, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems, and folks keep saying this is happening in the Democratic run, cities, what have you. And so it seems like that's the way it's playing out, that these folks have planned this for a long time. It's another issue that they have to throw at us to continue to cause fear and destruction. I tell you, I'm not sure how it plays out. And the other thing I thought of when you mentioned money, the president mentioned this briefly. You know how you have to watch him for a full hour at some of these conferences, and then he'll slip something in for 10 seconds. And you go, what was that? One of the things that, and I'm like, man, you got to really watch and pay attention. They were asking about another, I believe it was another stimulus bill or something where we receive money into our pockets again to help us through the coronavirus type deal or whatever. And he said something to the effect, if I remember right, there's plenty where that came from. Mm-hmm. And there seemed to be a lot of folks that were out there communicating, you're reading and grabbing information that seemed to talk about how he seems to have control of a lot more money than we are aware of. Mm-hmm. And we know he signed that executive order saying those folks that are causing issues or trouble with humans and I believe trafficking, whatever, we're going to seize their assets. I'm just going to throw this out there. I think it's like $100 trillion that these demonic folks at the top had. And I think that he's probably got a hold of that. Wow. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot that he's got saved up, and that's why he brings up, in my opinion, next year is going to be a great year. Mm-hmm. But that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong.
No, I can agree with that entirely. And also, we've got to show the public that it is technically the local state, especially when I'm talking about these Democrat states and all that a lot of this is their fault. Because what's going to happen here with all this damage going on? Think about the fires in California and all that stuff. They're going to reach out their hands to the government for help and say, "Hey, we need to be bailed out, fix all these things." Which partly, to me, is the reason why they're okay with destroying some of these things is that they're going to expect federal, the funding to fix all this stuff. And that's why I'm really grateful, because you could follow Trump. I mean, we've been following him, every step ever since this got started. You can kind of see where he's going with things. He keeps telling them, get your stuff together, fix, do this, do that, or what, and bring in the military, solve these things. This should have happened then, all this stuff. And then the more that the local state doesn't do anything, like the Chicago, the mayor? What's her name?
I can't remember her name. But
Lightfoot or whatever.
Yes, I think that's
her saying "F you" to Trump. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not going to play out well when they reach out for money and the government's like, no. That's going to be, that falls at her feet. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out, because we have a lot of damage that technically they would need to reach out, because a lot of these different areas were already hurting financially because of how the Democrats were running it into the ground.
Right.
Yep.
Well, the reason I think it's such an interesting idea is because you have these Democratic mayors and governors who have just essentially decried everything that President Trump has done, made him sound like he's the worst person in the world. And now, because their states are already in such poor financial condition and they don't have the ability to fix all the damage they allowed to take place, if they want to go ahead and take care of the citizens, they're going to have to reach out to President Trump. And how ironic that President Trump, the person person that these people have been told is the absolute epitome of evil is then going to step in and, through whatever process, help to make these people whole again. And perhaps in that way, maybe they're going to go ahead and end up voting for him come November.
I could definitely agree with that, because if we are under the impression that Antifa, for example, has been intertwined amongst even Democrats to a degree, or local state government, having that exposure happen while Trump's willing to still offer help, but those people are held accountable, he's the hero then, right? At least to the public that's not paying attention that much. They're going to be like, wow, Trump is helping us out, and that person is tied to this group that's destroying my neighborhood. That's a great wake-up call. So no, that's definitely how I feel about it. Rip, I just want to let you know, before we end the show, I got a question that I definitely want to ask LT and you.
Okay.
That would be a good discussion. So whenever we can get to that.
All right. Let me just do a couple more of these thank yous. Elizabeth Cole says, LT, do you think they'll try the nuclear option? I guess in what respect? What is the nuclear option?
That's a loaded question.
I mean, is it literally a nuke?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Denise, I think Trump... Oh, that's right. I did that one. Douglas McCarthy says, hey, guys, we are Generation X, and that is a crossroad that we may symbolize. I think that the love of our country and God we had and just disappeared. Yeah, and you pointed this out earlier. I mean, patriotism and spirituality and faith all kind of just waned over the last couple of decades. And now I think we're witnessing exactly what happens when you kind of lose the moral compass of a people and a culture, and then people just don't know how to act, and the only thing that they know how to do is what these leaders tell them to go ahead and do and think. Nature's Magical Unseen World said, our Cloaked Unseen World on YouTube can't super chat. Should be able to now. Elizabeth Coles, thank you again. Rory Eunice says, check out the protestjobs.com website. You pay them to send out paid rioters. They even call with rioters on their site. I've never been to protestjobs.com. LT or Methods, have you guys seen that website? Are you aware of that?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I haven't dug into it.
All right. Mark Dagley says, do you think Obama pardoned everyone, so Trump had to catch them in the act after his inauguration? Thoughts?
I don't have an opinion on that.
No opinion. Okay.
I get asked that a lot. That's been that's been a theory around for a while. Maybe, but I don't know.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense that these people would be just given blanket pardons up until the last day of the Obama administration. But, I mean, either way, I don't think it matters, because I think that they have committed many, many felonies after President Trump came into office. Brit Girl says, love the music, and we know, and a huge fan from the UK. James Rohrbach says, gold and silver is real money. RP knows and is like-minded. 7K. That's right, James. Daddy Crab says, LT, your intros are stunning. The music is great. Professional quality. Banshee's Bane, I would like to know how LT got involved with Reddit and Serial Brain. Well, we heard how you transitioned out. How did you initially start making the videos with Serial Brain and producing them?
Oh, the initial was when I heard the voice of the steep guy's voice, and I forgot his name of his channel, and I was listening to the production. I looked at what was being put together, and then I heard one day Serial Brain 2 say in the decode that anybody can use my work and produce. And that got me thinking, running through my mind, and I had already been producing the news updates. And I said, hey, let me give this a shot. And I was actually traveling at the time with a $400 cheap laptop and a cheap microphone. And after finishing work, I sat down and produced something till about 5 a.m, released it, and had a great time. And I said, one of the big things for me was whenever I see Enjoy the Show, it just hit me that, a lot of folks like to go to the movies. They like to feel like they're in a theater. And I thought, that's what I've been doing for a long time. I love After Effects, 3D work, music. Let me just put something together, and that's how it all started. I didn't think it was going to take off.
Oh, good stuff. Let's see. Momo says, hi, LT, RP78, and Methods, love from Hong Kong. Nature's magical unseen world. Imagination makes all unreasonable things reasonable, illogical and things logical. Trying to use reason and logic without imagination causes the broken record. It blocks us all from the truths that truly... Whoa. Oh my gosh, I think that was coming from qag.news. That's never happened before. Could you guys hear that?
No, I couldn't hear it, but we did just get a post. So if you had that pull, did the siren go off?
Yeah.
I can't have that on because I die inside just a little bit. It's so jumpy.
Yeah, I mean, it scared the heck out of me. I've never heard it before, so that's weird.
Well, to that point, now that we brought it up, because I just read it, and I know that I just read from OAN saying that they had rushed Trump to the bunker, and I was just, that was the report. Well, our favorite Anon just linked up a tweet that says, quote, nervous for his safety, Secret Service agents abruptly rushed the president to the underground bunker used in the past during terrorist attacks. And then our favorite Anon says, false. Woodshed utilized regarding intelligence management. And then in the kill boxes, he's got monitoring of situations. So he's essentially in the situation room, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Hey, I'm just saying what reporters are saying, and I'm glad that our favorite Anon clarified.
Good stuff. Let's see. Sherry Campbell says billions given to Flint to fix lead and water decade ago. 1/3 of all the funds spent and still lead in the water. Don't give cash to Dems to launder and squander. Charles Pixley, and we know I'd pay for your seminar to learn some of the techniques you use to create presentations. Love you three for your persistent program quality. Tanette Booth says, video guy paying protesters. Tag you both on Twitter. All right, well, I'll get that pulled up. Gino Revan says, I was thinking this may be to get emergency funding for corrupt Ds. That is why they want us to wear masks. Hope they found something with the drones. Todd Evans, if we make the states pay to rebuild their damaged communities, wouldn't that be making them pay twice, since they probably paid for their own destruction using the stimulus money? Dennis Ranshaw, love your shows. Stephanie Oostven, my USDA inspector called to say because of the CV-19, I must wear a mask when she comes to inspect. I said, it's not about the virus, it's about the election. Note to self, don't try to red pill a federal employee. Valerie Parakin says, have you hooked the dogs to a siren? Hashtag Muffingate. So, LT, did you hear about Muffingate? Did you hear what happened?
Yes, I saw it.
Whew. That was great. Quite the surprise that happened the other day. Yeah. But they're okay. They're doing fine.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ripple, do you mind if I go ahead and bring up the topic?
Your turn.
Okay. So I was thinking about this earlier, and LT, I'll start with you on your opinion, and I'll give mine first to give you a second. Okay. So we have this come out about Antifa being labeled as the T word. I don't know if we can say it on here or not, but we have them labeled, and then they immediately go in the damage control, saying they're not that big of a group. And then we have that hashtag, I am Antifa. So everybody's standing saying, well, I'm against fascists, so I am Antifa too. So the solidarity. But then we have what our favorite Anon tagged about how, because Trump had retweeted our buddy Corticon, which essentially retweeting a Q account, and even the words in it were very related to what our favorite Anon says. Then it gets taken down, and then they're covering it on fake news, and that hit's coming in that direction. And when our favorite Anon said, it's coming, or get ready, I can't remember the exact words, was making a point about that. My question to you, and just in general, is there's got to be multiple reasons on why this movement had to be created. It's not just a one-trick pony. There's a lot of different things that need to make it worthwhile for them to have done the process that is our 17. Having these two compared against each other, Antifa and then this movement during all this, to me, I feel is a part of the plan on why they haven't asked the question yet. Because having Antifa and all the proof being shown, all the videos that we're seeing, all the damage, but then they want to turn around and say, well, Trump is lifting up this extremist group. Well, then all eyes can be on what this extremist group has covered. And then information can be discussed as that. And that can kind of give Trump the plausible, situation to be able to then discuss this movement. So I just want to say, where do you think this is going when it comes to, they're comparing Antifa to essentially us as far as being extremists? Where do you think this goes?
Oh, you mean I just saw on the keyboard, you mean the MSNBC equating QAnon with Antifa? Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Yeah. No, I forgot that you had caught up on a little bit of sleep this afternoon.
Yeah.
But which is fine, man. A lot of work goes into those videos. Yeah. But basically, what they're doing is that they're conflating, saying, well, why can Trump label this side, a T organization, but then turn around and then retweet that extremist movement on the other side that's known as this movement that we're in now? Like, what do you how do you think that plays out? Because now they're going to try to conflate the two.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'd love to have Kayleigh McEnany answer that one.
Right.
She's just brilliant. The first thought was that Twitter was caught. Remember back months ago where somebody did a screen capture and there was like 9 million hashtags for QAnon.
Yeah.
And they took it down. When I saw that picture and they released that out, I noticed at that time, I said, wow, this movement is huge. We know that they have tried these false flags, or I don't even know if I could say that. Sorry about that.
It's all right. It's
anyway,
all done.
but we know that they are doing different things to try to get rid of this movement, which means what? It's very powerful. It's working. Information's going around these liars. I don't like to call it fake news. I like to call them liars.
That's good.
And we know that they've got their own operation set up to do nothing but destroy this country overall. And they don't like it that this president ruined their plans to destroy us, the 16-year plan to destroy America, things that we didn't even know about. I mean, even going to the election, I'll never forget when my children walked in the door from school and asked, Dad, did he definitely get elected as president? Yes, he did. And the sigh of relief from your own children because of what I had to prepare them for was absolutely amazing. So now we've got this movement, communications happening quite a bit. Folks are waking up. And to me, part of that wake up was noticing everybody in their boats partying at Huntington Beach, California area. People out on the beach there, Santa Barbara, people on the beach there. On the East Coast, up and down the beach, folks are walking around and they are not wearing masks and they're having a blast. And to me, I looked at that and said, they're all watching the keyboard. They got the information and they know that this is done and they know that they have their rights to stand out there without wearing these stupid masks. And so it's got a huge effect, and they're noticing, right, that it didn't work. So then they have to come up with their next part of their plan, which is, starting these riots with their operation. They had to put something together. They know the stuff's not going to work. They know they're going down. And it's a sad thing to see what's happening right now. But the positive side is what you mentioned earlier were these videos being put out of folks cleaning up the next day. It was brilliant. I just love seeing folks come together.
Well, that's what this is all about. There is that part of this country, and I know that we have a lot of international people here around the world that are that genuine, that want to help take care of their fellow man. They didn't create that damage. They didn't cause anything. Most of those people cleaning, I bet, had nothing to do with any of this. They wanted to step out and do that. And that's what I see a lot in this movement. Yeah, we might have some infighting here or there, or disagreements, or we don't all agree when it comes to certain decodes or how things should be run, but we are still all genuinely will take care of each other. And that's
right. One of the things, the other thing that I think of is this. When I got stationed, I got out of the Marine Corps, retired, and got a government service job and got to live in Germany. And we were in Wiesbaden. And I was public affairs officer for the Army command there. Big difference between the Marine Corps and Army as far as the way they think and what have you. It was so wonderful to work for another branch and discover how great everybody is in all the services. I'll just throw that one there real quick for everybody watching. But one of the things that was interesting, it was the house that we moved into was not done yet. So the person who built the home had us stay in their house with them. when we stayed with them, I don't know if have you guys been to Germany at all, or do you have anybody over in Europe? Or
My dad served over there, but I've never been to Europe.
Well, one of the interesting things for me was in their home, they laid out on their table a perfect breakfast and a perfect dinner with the perfect, plates. It was unbelievable, the detail that they went through to produce, put together all this food. Well, one of the things that happened at the dinner table was conversation pieces. And I had the BO had just won the election. And so when we're sitting at the table, questions started coming up, and they started talking about their love for this Messiah they called BO. And I remember saying, "Who told you this?" I asked questions. Now, I learned that from Ravi Zacharias, who recently passed away. You ask the question to force them to think for themselves. They have to literally answer this question: who told you that he was the greatest thing on earth? Mm-hmm. And they said, "I don't understand your question. No, where did you get this information from?" And I forced them to say, "Oh, we get it from CNN, Der Spiegel, these different things." I was telling them, these are the things that you're watching and reading. Now, I'm telling you, I'm leading to something. I just want to get you to understand the foundation for this. I would then present to them my case based off of my research on who he really was. A lot of it, to be honest with you, came from listening to Sean Hannity every single day on the radio, 3 hours, and watching him at night. And I'm listening him bang out over and over that this guy, started in the home of a terrorist person who blew up the Pentagon at one time, and that's where he started. Mm-hmm. And then you go on and I started laying out a dissertation of who this guy really is. She was in shock. I mean, she put her hand to the chest like a movie, and her mouth dropped, and she was like, "Oh, I can't believe it." She went into panic mode. We were at that table for 3 hours. Wow. The next day, we were there for 3 hours, and they invited friends over. Now, I say that to say this. I didn't have a cue board. Okay? I didn't have anything to grasp to tell me all of this. Mm-hmm. I only had prayer, Bible, God opening my eyes to see all of this, and thankfully this guy named Hannity, who was putting out this information, beating this BO guy up, every single day to tell me who this person really is. That's all we had. So why was the Q thing such a big deal? I'm not the only one. There's millions of folks that were trying to defend their right to say that this BO guy is not who he is. But we didn't have a solid, foundation of information to grasp and pull from. Now we do. Mm-hmm. So now the enemy knows that, and they're going to use everything they can to destroy it, because now we have what? We have a book we can go to and pull from that resource and say, "Hello, look at this. Do you see him here? Do you see this picture? Do you see what Q is saying?" And even better, we know that Q is tied to the president of the United States with Q plus, and we have all the Q proofs. So we know now millions of people are following around the world. Mm-hmm. They finally have something to go to as a resource other than just listening to what somebody like Hannity has to say for the night. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's a single point of reference rather than a whole bunch of different places that they've got to go. They don't have to listen to the full broadcast. It's all right there. And most of these aggregator sites have it put together with, nice and neat with, subjects and themes and players and all of it. Yeah. It's
right. So what's the future, right? And I have to go in a minute.
Yeah.
I just want to say, so what's the future, right? Keyboard goes away, this, that, and the other. I started that with this. We actually can make a defense for what is real and what's not real. What has the Q thing taught us, right? Mm. We can actually do our own research, find things. When Methods finds something posted on Twitter, it gets queued. Hey, folks, this is something to see. Mm-hmm. He's right. So that's good. Now we've got this, General Flynn said, an army of digital soldiers all working together to find this information. It's not just waiting on Fox News to put out something that night, which is getting overtaken by Paul Ryan and all those idiots, right? We now know that everything is not what we saw that it was, and we now know we can work together. And just like You were told by X22 Report with that amazing interview a few weeks back.
Thank you.
He made that analogy with, the grasshoppers not really having the power that they thought they did. Right. So
Yeah.
of course they're going to attack. They've attacked before. They tried to label us. And I believe that we're going to be fine, even without a Q board. We have now learned how to communicate with each other and get information out.
I have to
Well
agree with you
said.
there. Yeah.
Well
yeah.
said.
Excellent. Well, LT, thank you so much for coming and spending the time with us tonight. I really, really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, I just love you guys, love your show, and I'm just thankful for all of the love that we're getting. I mean, look at the chat board, look at the super chats, look at how folks are supporting us. Again, I want to say to the audience, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into these productions, a lot of research. And we are thankful for the folks that support us. It is amazing. And I'm telling you, there's times when I get really tired. I know you do too. Red Pill Methods. I mean, guys, it is, there are times when it's very, very, very hard. And I tell you, when we get a message or you get, a little donation here and there, whatever, and they say something to you that, that encourages you to continue to move on, it's like that second wind kicks in.
Yeah.
And so we're all in this together. We're all working together, but it is nice to be recognized for the amount of time that I do take away from my family that you do, and I just want to say thanks to everybody that supports us.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, well said, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you again for all you do. Thanks for spending the time with us. And the feeling is absolutely mutual, my friend. I love your work, and you're an inspiration to me and many, many others.
Yeah. Yep. God bless you guys.
God bless you too, LT.
Yeah, much love, LT.
All right. Have a great night, man. That was amazing.
Great conversation, man. I could talk to him for a year.
I know. Yeah, yeah. And I was bummed that he couldn't stay any longer, but I am so grateful that he did stay as long as he did. Let me see here. John Howe says, just saw this breaking. Bill Barr has subpoenaed Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota. Not sure if it's real. Could be. Love all three of you guys. Thanks. I haven't been able to find anything on that.
I searched it when I saw it in the chat as being curious. I haven't seen anything yet. Everybody knows how to reach us. If it's out there, definitely send it to, because that'd be interesting, right? If he's subpoenaing people like that. And just real quick, I've been doing this throughout the show, but you guys, if you aren't subscribed to, and we know you need to be, I'm dropping it in the chat, and I'm also about to drop his Twitter because he's dropping things over there as well. And he's getting kind of close to the 100K mark. So that'd be pretty cool if you guys can help him out. You know how we like to flood things. If you guys can, help him get there, that'd be really, really cool. Because he's, to me, what would that be? Like top contender for top 5 most genuine people we've met since we got started.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And, to his point about, getting the messages of encouragement and just, getting some token to know that we're doing the right thing and that we're helping people, it's absolutely so important. I mean, I've been more tired doing this than I have doing anything else in my life, and I would be lying if I told you guys that there haven't been times that I wondered, am I supposed to keep doing this? Is everything that is going to come as a result of it, is this really what I want to do with my life, and is it worth it? Because when you get flooded with messages. And I love getting the messages that are good. But then, of course, there's always going to be people who will say, bad things, tell you that you're no good at what you're doing, that this is a fruitless pursuit because it's all fake. And, as much as I know that, this is the right direction, we're doing the right thing here, there are some times when you get overwhelmed with those negative messages and you ask yourself, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I a fool? But then, almost immediately you shake it off because there's going to be another message from somebody telling you that they really do enjoy what you're doing. So I did want to just say thank you to everybody for all of your support, whether it's a like, whether it's a share, whether it's a comment. Keep those things coming in here. The only thing that I regret is that I can't respond to all of them, because there are so many people out there who are saying just incredible things that is lifting up my spirit. And, as long as you guys keep sending me the messages, as long as you keep watching the videos, I'll know that I'm doing the right thing. And I want to continue with this for as long as I possibly can. As far as I'm concerned, the mission is not going to be complete until we get President Trump into that second term and we actually fully remove the deep state, the cabal, whatever you want to call them. We need to get our country back, and we need to bring back truth and justice to our country. That's the most important thing.
And to that whole point, man, because I agree with you, because me and you, we try to read comments and the DMs and stuff that we get flooded. That's why I don't give out my email that much, because I know that you get a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But with that said, it's kind of like it's a minefield.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you're going to get that one person that's just over you, and they're going to tell you everything wrong with you, what you should be doing, all this stuff, and it can live in your head if you aren't ready for it. It can happen. But in turn, like that one comment that just shows up out of nowhere in a DM, that's just like, I would not have found this, where I am today. I would not have woken up if it wasn't for, your Twitter account or this video made by this person and all that you can live off of for days. Mm-hmm. It'd just be like, and it's just one person, right? I mean, this movement's huge. The internet is very, very huge when it comes to people. And we get to have, these little moments that fuel us. So, I mean, yeah, of course we bring up the things like we read the super chats or thank you for hitting up, PayPals and all that stuff. That's because you're going the extra mile past all that. But the likes, the comments, the personal messages, all those things, even if it takes us a while to get to them, mm-hmm. that motivates all of us like way further than you can even imagine. We'll even, like Red Pill and I will share them with each other at times. Like, this person just made my day. And it's just really, really cool.
All right, it's back. I don't know how to turn off the siren, so sorry about that, guys. But we do have another post. Getting that pulled up. It is a Twitter status from the Mark Levin Show, and it says, all assets being deployed, people used as pawns, controlled. And he says, there's an insurrection taking place now. Anarchy. The governors must send in the National Guard. The president must now lay down the legal predicate for potentially sending in the regular military. Simone, stop it. All leaders of Antifa must be rounded up ASAP. The citizens in these communities are being terrorized by violent mobs. It is now a national security issue. Well, I think that he's pretty much laid it on the line. That is exactly what needs to happen. But to the point about Keith Ellison, can't find any sauce on him being called in to testify for Attorney General Barr, but his son has pledged his support for this radical left-wing group. So he did that on Twitter. Kathleen Glockner says, love Red Pill, M3, and LT for Man We Know. God bless us all. Our Cloaked Unseen World says, no fair, the alarm went off when you were reading my chat. I did get all the way through it, though. Tank says, we are now under curfew in LA from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I would say stay inside, guys. Be ready to protect what is yours.
Hey, we had a report come out from Doug Ducey, the governor of Arizona. They're doing a curfew for a week.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're planning for things to be going on for a week.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably going to come in handy. I mean, if the National Guard or the regular military is on the street, they need to start rounding people up who are leading this insurrection. It's going to be something that is sorely needed here in this country. 27 Sparkle, thank you. Spirit-led Brenda, Obama ripped and stripped according to Mark Taylor, so wouldn't his pardons be null and void? If he was completely impeached and he was no longer president, then I think that would invalidate the stuff that he did. Philby Me Too, afraid those arrested will claim to be QAnons. I think that there is undoubtedly going to be some people who will be branded that, but I think that the overwhelming majority of the people are going to be recognized for exactly who they are. DFY says, just received a PSA text announcing the curfew tonight in Atlanta. Thank you, gentlemen, for what you do. Where we go one, we go all. Our Cloaked Unseen World says, Tesla quote number 87. The future will show whether my foresight is as accurate now as it is proved heretofore. These prophecy quotes I found of his amazing and then it cuts off. But yeah, these are actually, I love Nikola Tesla, so thank you for putting these in here. Nova Gals 1969, why has no one brought up the fact that he died from heart failure and drugs? It was on the Fox ticker last night. We actually did talk about the heart failure, but I hadn't got the information that there were drugs in his system for George Floyd. Methods, did you read anything about that, or did you see that on Fox?
I hadn't seen that, but my sleep schedule got so messed up that I was catching up on things the best I could over the last couple of days.
All right. I'll see what we can find on that here in just a moment. Q Critter says, check your Proton Mail for the protest jobs post and site. All right. I did actually want to show that off. So here, this is the protestjobs.com, and you can get packages of protesters. Look at that, $129 per protester. That's your best value. Our most popular package, 1,500 to 200,000 professional protesters, all signage, poster board, colored Sharpies included, train to and from event for the protesters, social media promotion, including a custom hashtag for the event, and celebrity appearance upgrade packages available. Now, I don't know if this is a legitimate website, okay? I do want to say that it would be very easy for someone to put this together. And the only way that you can order is through a contact form on the website. So I think I remember hearing something about this type of thing a couple years ago, and it was a bit of a troll. So I just want to make sure that we're not going to verify the legitimacy of it. I mean, it's a nice website, but somebody could put that together inside of a couple hours. Grandpappy Frog says, Red Pill 78, Trump's in the woodshed situation room. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, he's
what do you do in a woodshed?
Chop wood? No, you store wood?
No. Well, you do. At least us in the South, you do work in there. You work on things in a shed. So that's how I took it.
Okay,
but that is what it is.
All right. Let's see. Grandpappy Frog, thank you. Nate Bama says, Roll Tide. Chris Hawkins, one more volley, one more rush to the thumbs up. It's absolutely wonderful spending time with you, fearfully, wonderfully made warriors. Please, everybody, if you haven't yet, give us a thumbs up. Lisa Collins, awesome show tonight, guys. Thanks for all you do to bring us the truth. Our Cloaked Unseen World, hyper inventor John Q. John Quincy St. Clair is real. I've never heard of John Quincy St. Clair, but I'll go ahead and search for something related to that. And we'll see if we can't do a little educating.
Yeshua Bride Sherry says, woodshed is where you're taken to get your rear end beaten. That's true also.
That's right. I guess that's how I'd know about it. Documentary Magic. That was an awesome story, LT. Did everyone know Hannity apologized about not listening to people about Bush? He said he just auto-believed. I was not aware of that. I didn't know that Hannity apologized for that. Gene Sullivan, an alliance was formed in the 1950s. Space Force has been around longer than we've known. Biggest sting operation in history. I'll provide a link on a Twitter thread from Boston, Massachusetts. Where we go one, we go all. Dr. Sala, who was my guest last night on Saturday Night Livestream, is going to be coming back next Saturday, and we're going to do a story specifically all about the secret space program and what his understanding of it is. So there's going to be some historical stuff in there. That's Nice has joined as a member. Son of a Green Card says, thanks for everything you do, guys. May God filter your eyes and minds so the enemy has no way to cast a cloud on the light that you've been given. That is awesome. I appreciate that.
That was well said.
Yeah. God's Daughter says, could use encouragement. Lost 2 longtime friends because of all of this. God's Daughter, I'm so sorry to hear that, but just remember, you are amongst, I don't know how many thousands of people are here right now, but we're all here for you, and I think that, this is part of the reason why I try to put off the energy and the feel that I do for this show, is because there is enough negativity out in the world. There's enough hatred, there's enough ridicule, and it's surprising to me sometimes the lengths that people will go to make sure that they let me know how much they disapprove of the way that I do things, or whatever it is that they're offended by on the night that they see the show. So I mean, the positivity and the prayer that we give each other is so important, and you guys really do keep me going. John House says, I think everything is in place for a form of martial law. All states are going into curfew mode, military dispatched, etc., waiting to hear. I completely agree. This is, again, the great time to do it. We didn't do it with the first round with the sickness. Now we've got the riots. This makes even more sense.
Julia, hey, if you've got the siren on for the aggregator, I'd turn it off.
I don't know how. That's the thing. It's just in my browser.
Or just turn off the page real quick, because Q just posted again, and I can just read it. It's just words.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all in caps, Fairy. So he's being serious. You are witnessing the greatest coordinated disinformation campaign to ever be launched against the American people. Information warfare, infiltration versus invasion, insurgency, irregular warfare, efforts to regain power. Mm-hmm. And he hit trips, 3 7s for anybody that goes on the boards and knows what that means.
Nice. Okay, so, Grandpappy Frog just gave me the information on how to turn off. Go to site menu on the top left. Okay, and on the sound. Site options to change sound. Okay. Site options and no audio alert. Okay. Oh, I can change it to a TARDIS sound. That's kind of cool. Let's see. Julie Costello said, love this show. Emmy, where we go on, we go all UK. Thank you. Casey Anon says, sorry I was late. Dinner. LT made a brilliant point. Rothschild's $22 trillion. Deep State stole about $19 trillion. The rest of the Death Eaters have 10 to 12 trillion. So there's a lot of money there. That would probably take care of everything here in this country. We would take care of the debt, all that stuff. Maybe people could get restitution for everything that we've gone through. And then, again, thank you, Grandpappy Frog, for the information on how to change that. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't know about that protest job site. If maybe we can look into it and see if there's any information.
We do know that they have the text chains that they were creating over the last few years to be able to reach each other real quick, to where it can look like it's organic, but it's not really. So of course, I mean, Red Bull and I could make a website in an hour with especially things like Wix and all that, like real quick, and make it look somewhat fancy. So that's why we always have to second guess websites we don't know.
Yeah.
But that kind of information, that would be somewhere, right? They're trying to create things really quickly, organize it really quickly, and to make it seem like it wasn't, already planned.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I doubt that services like this exist. I'm actually fairly certain that they do. I just don't know that they would be so out in the open about it. But we could do a little bit of digging into the ownership of that website, see how long it's been online, take a look at cached versions of it to see what it looked like beforehand. Also, Techno Axe, what's up, buddy? Glad you're here. He said, remember the bad movies where the bad guys conveniently expose themselves over bad monologue. I feel that's like what the Deep State did on Twitter.
That's so perfect.
We're basically in an episode of Scooby-Doo right now.
Right.
Red Pill, one of the best shows. Love LT and We Know as much as you and M3. Thank you very much, Dennis P. Appreciate that. So here's actually something I haven't had a chance to bring up yet. Nate Kane sent me a message the other day, and apparently there was a new Scooby-Doo movie that recently came out, computer animation. Anyways, when Velma pulls out her laptop, the symbol...
Hey, real quick, spoiler alert to anybody in the crowd. I just want to save you here.
Yeah. Okay, so please, you guys, if you don't want to know about this part in Scooby-Doo, just turn off the volume now. But there's a Q on her laptop. That's the symbol on it. And then I guess there were some other things about it. Nate said that, what do they do? They're investigating mysteries and they expose things, kind of like what this movement has been doing. But there were some other, other things about it. I don't have the messages right now, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And I just wondered if anybody else had brought that to your attention, Methods.
No, not that one. But I mean, we get sent things all the time, especially with new stuff being made. You can kind of pick up on at least themes that started with this movement that's now kind of intertwining in the plot. But there was that one, and I'm not going to remember it, but there was that animated cartoon that came out recently where one of the main characters had a Q on his hat or shirt or something.
Okay.
It was a movie coming out. I just can't remember the name of it. Maybe the chat can help me out.
I think it was that that new one where they were trolls or something like that.
Some kind of monsters or something like that.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that's a movie buff out there, they're probably dying inside yelling at us saying it's this movie. But yeah, I mean, it's bleeding into that kind of stuff. And that's how big, once again, we can talk about how big the movement's become, to where they're like, wow, well, we could probably draw their eyes to watch this if we at least intertwine some of the stuff that they're into. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're going to find some way to manipulate it or make fun of it. We've seen a lot of the stuff, especially over the past couple of years, about them referring to things like when they'll say like the killer posted on 4chan, and it's like some part of like drama TV show. Mm-hmm. They will intertwine those things, but the fact that we've created so much noise that these people are writing plots with it in it, mm-hmm. is just fascinating and kind of funny to me.
All right, so let's see. I actually did. Somebody in the chat said that I didn't read all the way through the Mark Levin post. Cena Annie. I actually did read all the way through it, unless Mark Levin has added to the thread.
Did you read two of them? Because I know it was a 2-part mini thread. Let me I'll just refresh.
Okay. So there was the one right here. I read the first tweet in Mark's thread, and then I read the second tweet in Mark's thread. I did not go to this article. Is that perhaps what gave you pause? Right here. It's from Law and Crime, and it says Trump wants the military ready to deploy to Minneapolis. Here's what the law says about posse comitatus. This is definitely something very interesting. I'll go ahead and drop that link into the chat so that everybody can take a look at that. We've only got 6 minutes left, and so I don't believe we're going to have time to go through this article all on its own. But it is certainly something that's worth a read. I mean, posse comitatus, that's an argument that goes back to, I believe it was suspended. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't remember exactly what it was. There was some issue with it being suspended under George W. Bush during his administration. Let's see here. And then Methods gave us post 4373. You are witnessing the greatest coordinated disinformation campaign. So we did read through that. I am only seeing those two posts, so I'm not seeing anything that was missed. If somebody else,
I've been on the boards and I haven't seen anything new.
Yeah. Pause 271 says, why hasn't the MSM been classified as the big T word? Their lies incite violence, promote fear, propagate propagate Antifa. Just saying. Obviously, Mark Levin is pronounced Lovin. Mark Levin? Is it really pronounced Lovin?
I hear it Levin everywhere, but hey, I'm from the South. I'm told we say everything wrong anyways when we talk to anybody anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. You know who we're talking about.
Sure. Daro Bruno. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the media being considered a T organization, I think that what's most likely is that they're going to be exposed for their comfy relationship with intelligence. So they're going to be exposed as having, quite a bit to do with the clowns in America. I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, the media, perhaps not in its current form, but the idea of the media in the United States is something that's very important. That's why Levin. Okay, Mark Levin. All right. So, thanks, guys. So, I'm
going to say it wrong every time I hear it or I get a chance. I'm going to say it wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, I take it seriously because I think that the role of the media is very important. Now, whether or not the mainstream media is doing it correctly, I think that we all can agree that they're not. They're attempting to sway public opinion. They're attempting to introduce the ideas that they think are important. They want to give you their own spin. They want to control your mind, as Mika Brzezinski said. It's their job to tell you what to think and how to act. And I think that that's all obviously very wrong. I mean, the idea is to give facts and information, and then obviously here on the channel we interject our own thoughts and opinions about stuff. But you have to make the distinction between those things. You cannot just tell people that what I believe is correct, therefore you must believe it. And that's something that I see quite a bit. I see a lot of people getting caught up in that. This is my opinion. Therefore, oh, dang it. I just realized I wasn't on the the right screen. I see, this is my opinion. Therefore, you must believe it because I'm correct. And if you have a different opinion, then you're wrong. I don't think that's correct. I think that there are certain things which are subjective. I mean, this is something that I believe, and for me, perhaps that's correct, but, that doesn't mean that it has to be the same for you. Obviously, I think that there are some things which are universal, but in today's world with, the way things are, obviously, I'm going to have my own opinion. You're going to have your own opinion. Methods is going to have his own opinion, and that's fine. We need a diversity of opinions. If we have a straight consensus on absolutely everything, I think society is going to be a very bland place to live.
I can totally agree with that. And also just on the media thing, them being labeled certain stuff, you got to think they're going to have to go through the gauntlet of being at the very least like useful idiots during everything that's happened in the last few years. They work. Now we know this. They were complicit in all these things, making sure the stage was set to have Mueller come through, or attacking Flynn, or anything that was being said by the Democrats. They had no problem covering it. So how much collusion is showed through paperwork or voice recordings or whatever, we'll see, and all that. And I'm going to go ahead and solve this Mark Levin thing. I'm going to call him Mark McLevin from now on, and everybody can just understand.
That's great. All right, so Documentary Magic, I am looking for your email. Documentary, as long as I spell it correctly, hopefully be right there. I don't know what your email is, Documentary Magic. The last thing that I have from, anybody with documentary in the title of the email is about chiropractic medicine. So perhaps if you can tell me what your email address is, I can go ahead and look for it. But Daro Bruno says, according to Whois, the protest page was started in 2017, and if you notice the color scheme, it's the same as the pre-printed posters back when the Kavanaugh protests were underway. Oh, that's very interesting. Chris Hawkins says, I said if I was going to We the Peeps, we hit over 5,000 likes, so I just threw a backflip. Trust me, that's hard for me. If we hit over 5,000 likes, you guys, thank you so much for that. Leah Bird, thank you. Pause271 says, San Diego suburb, LA Mesa bank burned. Protesting in Santee also right now. Stay safe, everyone. And Ivy, thank you very much for that. So anybody, do you know Documentary Magic's email address so that I can look for it? I would love to see the content of that email before we get off the line.
Well, while you're doing that, just to remind everybody, we have a new show that we started this past week that is called Occam's Razor. It's kind of like our compromise on having quarantine but not having the time to do 5 days a week. So we're doing it Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern during the day. It's going to be an hour and a half long. We hang out the first hour. We don't even read the super chats like we do during these shows. We just have a discussion, and we also read things from the comments just in the chat in general. Last half hour, we discuss the super chats and things going on with that. I personally enjoyed this first week. I thought it went great.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing it for sure. So this Tuesday, don't forget.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I appreciate everyone who did like and share the show. I appreciate everybody who was here watching along with us. It was a great conversation with LT. Thank you, LT, even though you're not here anymore. Just thank you so much for coming on the show. Methods, as always, thank you for doing it with me. Thank you to all of the mods. Thank you to everybody who has helped out. We really appreciate you guys. I will be back. Well, I don't know. It depends on how the news goes tomorrow. I might end up throwing up a little video at 6, but I'm probably going to end up taking the day off, and then we will be back on Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. and then 6 p.m. for the daily show. So thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you.
Hey, and we can end on this final post by our favorite Anon that just came through. It is one line: be strong in the Lord.
Perfect. Well, hopefully everybody out there is good with that message. I think that it's probably the best way to end the show. All right, you guys. Good luck, God bless, and we will see you all very soon. All right.